I have a piece where I'm a unicorn who's fed up of being an Irish trope, and I pull like an Irish flag out of my butt.
Very
And
good.
then other times it's a bit more like maybe
I'm sure
airy fairy.
So
Michael Collins would be proud of that, I'm sure.
I think he would. I think he
you
would have
would.
liked it.
That is a free Ireland. To me, that's a
Yeah.
free Ireland, and you can pull flags out your butt. That's the free Ireland Michael Collins wanted. Welcome back to Everything from Nothing, Ireland's most repetitive podcast. If anyone wants to support us on Patreon, we'd really appreciate it at patreon.com/Ireland's podcast, where we're uploading no guest episodes, which are pretty fun episodes. Just going to introduce today's guest. It'll be a fun conversation that we try to keep our conversations diverse, so we're looking forward to having this conversation. This week's guest was Miss Burlesque of Ireland in 2016 and was also the All-Ireland pole dance champion in 2014, and she's also the founder of the Irish Pole Dancing Academy. Out-of-date mindsets have not stopped her from becoming a leader of the Irish pole dancing scene, giving confidence to many others to embrace their passions. She's a creator of her own reality. It's Arlene Caffrey. How are you, Arlene?
Hi, Kieran. I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, good. You were just doing one of your workshops there, was it?
I'm doing a third level course at the moment, so busy times ahead.
Oh, are you teaching it or are you doing it yourself?
I'm taking it.
Okay, cool.
I feel like there's more to learn and never stop learning.
Are you doing it online, is it, or what?
Yeah, it's all online for the moment.
And is it a university or what is it?
Doing it with LIT. In Limerick, but online, thankfully.
Wow. And is it to do with the pole dancing or is it sport or what is it?
It's a certificate in change leadership. So not necessarily in management, but more leadership skills. So it is in the more corporate field, which to me is all part of what I do. And it's very important when you are a business owner.
Yeah. Can I ask you a very personal question? What's your favorite color?
Oh, green is my favorite color.
That you said that like there's no dispute, like it's just green.
Yeah, I've always had a fondness for the color green, like as a constant throughout my life. Yeah. I like yellow a lot at the moment too. I'm quite drawn to like yellow objects. But green has always been my favorite color.
Oh, that's really cool. So like, how did you get into pole dancing anyway? I know it's like, when did you and how did you get into it?
Yeah, that's always one of the first things that people ask me once they hear about what I do. So it goes a long way back. I started in 2006, back in my hometown of Drogheda. I was doing yoga classes for fun, and one day my yoga teacher announced casually that she was bringing this thing called pole fitness to the town of Drogheda, and she was also at the same time opening a new premises that would have installed poles, and it was going to be very exciting and new and shiny, this idea and concept of there being like a pole dancing studio in the town.
Drogheda, like that's bad.
In Drogheda, County Louth, Drogheda. That's where I'm from. You can't really hear it from my accent, which certain words it comes out. I'm sure that will happen over the conversation. So it's 2006. It's Drogheda. I'm just started my degree, which was in graphic design. So I'm in art college, and I guess I was always just that kind of person growing up, that I wanted to be doing something that was a bit weird or a bit different, and trying to be edgy and all of that. So the idea of doing pole dancing appeals to me, because I thought, okay, this is something that's new and wild and totally different, and God, I'm going to be such a rebel and take up this new thing.
And did many people take part or get involved at the start?
Yeah, it was very popular from the get-go. I noticed when I think back on it, it was always, yeah, like she would have had her classes sold out in advance, and there was quite a big enthusiastic uptake of it, which
That's mad.
yeah, maybe we didn't appreciate at the time, like how popular it was. And yeah, it still remains popular to this day, which is great to see. It's been very constant throughout that 15 years.
Yeah.
The person who started it, like the person that set up that pole dancing class, where did she get the idea from? And like, was she Irish or had like, because that you know, that first person to do it, that always amazes me. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, early adopters are like a very fascinating type of people. I agree with that. Yeah, so it wasn't the first studio in Ireland. It was the first and only in Drogheda that I'm aware of anyway, in all of that time since then. My fitness instructor, I guess she was one of those people who was always looking out for like the next trendy thing, if that makes sense. So I think at that time in 2006, pole fitness, as it was being marketed, was this like emerging trend. It was kind of seen as, oh, burn hundreds and thousands of calories through this pole fitness, and woo, let's get in shape, and yeah, fitness, woo. It was quite it's not how it's changed a lot since then, thank goodness. But at the time, it was very much seen as like a fad kind of a workout, and people, I think, didn't appreciate the longevity of it, and and the fact that it has come from strip clubs, that it has a very long history behind it. And I think that's probably the greatest thing about it, is that it's here to stay and it's not going to go away. Definitely not a fad, thank goodness. And I'm grateful that it's still here.
When you say about the history of it, because we looked up a little bit kind of around that, but like what do you, I'm sure that you know more than we do about the history of it. So where did it come from? How did it get established? And what's been the kind of evolution of it?
Definitely. I'm probably not, how do you say, the best person to talk about the exact history of it, as that's still something that's being developed and is a topic of discussion and has been over the years since pole dancing has become this trendy thing, I suppose. It goes back further than you think anyway. Like it would have come from like vaudeville and this idea of like traveling circuses, and then the whole kind of like more, how do you say, like the adult side of that, of there being like a tent in the pole that, you know, during the after hours the women would come out and dance around this wooden pole. And then see, that's the thing, nobody knows exactly when the first pole appeared in a gentleman's club. We think it was around the 1960s. But at some stage, somebody had the idea of, let's put a metal pole in the strip club that women can dance around, like how they used to do back in the vaudeville days. And that was how pole dancing became a thing with the strip clubs and became what we know.
That's quite late. I would have thought it would have been before the 60s that people did that. Like that
in the gentleman's club.
Yeah.
I was picturing Berlin in the 50s, or you know what I mean, or 40s. But I don't know.
They only invented.
That's the thing. We don't know exactly for sure. Like a lot of these things weren't documented, unfortunately. But that was, I think, the first reported incident of it being somewhere in America.
It's always somewhere in America, isn't it?
It tends to be the way.
I mean, you said like that organization, it was set up in Drogheda. It was set up as, you said, you called it pole fitness, not pole dancing. Is there a difference, like, or is it just a different word, like?
Yeah, it is a case of semantics. It's a funny one, and I'm glad that you asked. Pole dancing comes from strip clubs. Like, that is an undisputed historical fact.
Okay.
And I think it's very important that we all acknowledge that, and that's why I think it's important to call it pole dancing.
Yeah. Because
I think when you try to call it something else, and I've had that kind of said to me over the years, like, oh, why do you have to call it pole dancing? Can you not call it vertical art, or can you call it something else? And it's like, you could, like, you can call it what you want, but that's erasing the history of it. And I feel like that's that's utterly disrespectful to whitewash it to like the people who invented it and gave it to us. Like, why should we shame our stripper foremothers? They were the ones who invented it, and we now have the privilege of doing it. So yeah, I totally disagree with like renaming it or rebranding it just to suit people's
just to clean up the language of it.
That's weird, because I imagine like a lot of the people, like the only people suggesting that, well, I'd imagine the majority of people suggesting that are people that don't do it, and that'd be like hurlers like calling their sport hurling for hundreds of years, and then a bunch of people who just don't play hurling being like, oh, I think you should change the name
to stick and ball.
Yeah, stick and ball. Yeah, similar.
Exactly. That's a good comparison.
Yeah, it's a relatable comparison to the Irish people. So, yeah.
Indeed. Or like, even I suppose, in Ireland we have our own kind of instances of that, of like where our own language is trying to be erased and our culture is trying to be erased. So like, maybe if people even relate to it as that, like what's wrong with why are we so ashamed of where it came from that we have to erase and pretend it never happened?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Why do you think people who aren't involved with like sort of like that old school? I think Ireland as well is always far behind with that stuff as well. Like of I'd imagine there is a lot of like the way that the perception of it by a lot of like that old Irish mindset maybe is. Why do you think there is sort of that? Or why do you think people are sort of uncomfortable with it? Like who don't even do it or have nothing to do with it? Like why?
Yeah, it's a funny one that we do have a history in this country of our sexuality being so repressed.
Definitely,
yeah, and I do think that's a cultural thing. I'm kind of wary to like blame any one institution or say, we're sexually repressed because of X, Y, and Z organization.
Yeah, because of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
I said it for
you. Yeah, I think I get a lot of let's call a spade. Like I think they are responsible for that shift and that overhaul of our culture. But we were all a part of it, or I think everybody was part of it back then. It wasn't a case where the church was saying one thing and then we were trying to do the other thing. Well, actually,
there might have been a few outliers, but
very clear.
No, but I know what you're saying. It's a hard thing to be clear about. Like it was a mad. I don't know. I think I don't know. There's loads of times where it comes up as well. Like how weird it was. Like I even know like story of my grandmother who missed mass one Sunday, and it wasn't just the church that like looked down on her, it was the entire village like stopped talking to her, like just, which is crazy. Like so I think there is that sort of mob mentality that might come from the one place, but I think there's a lot of people that sort of supported it too, like but yeah, definitely. But like where would you like to hope, like this is a question, like where would you hope that like what would you like the world to see pole dancing as? Like what, like how would you want them to, I suppose, just that question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess it's quite a lofty notion, and for me it's more than pole dancing. I think it would be really lovely, and I hope it happens within my lifetime, but we'll see. I just think it would be nice to live in a world that stops shaming particularly women and minorities for their sexuality. Like we have so many words for a woman who we see as being promiscuous, like all this slut shaming, and we can think of tons of words, and I'm sure every person listening to this hopefully can think of an instance where maybe they were slut shamed for something like maybe they just happen to have a shapely body and you're a slut because you have big tits. Like we all have these instances of just really ridiculous notions about a woman's body or what type of person somebody is because of their sexuality. And I think it'd be nice to just live in a world that is free of those ideas that limit people. That would be really nice.
Definitely.
Is there cultures that are like that, I wonder, already in the world? That aren't?
Good question. Yeah, I reckon there has to be somewhere.
I do as well.
Iceland, Iceland do everything right. Isn't that the country that like just never does anything wrong? It must be Iceland. They're like
they're never in the news, are they?
Yeah.
So they must be doing something right.
Yeah. Probably the Icelandians. I don't know if that's the word, but
like now, I know that we just kind of talked about like, the whole kind of hopefully non-sexuality aspect of the pole dancing, but like I think that we have to mention the clothes and the shoes and all of that aspect, like what, because that the friends that I've got that have kind of made comments about it, because I think that pole dancing or pole fitness, as you said, was a bigger thing in London before it was, which is where I was at the time, before it was here. So like most of the comments around it was sort of the clothes and the shoes and that kind of issue. That's the thing that people seem to notice first, rather than the fact that like it's a really intense kind of physical activity. It, you know, it's really good for body and mind, or so it seems. And you know, the clothes is always the issue. Like what?
Like what's the but is there practicality in the clothes and stuff as well, or is it? Like
I'm sure that there is, yeah. So how? Yeah, can you just talk a little bit more about the clothes and the choice of clothes and what the purpose for the pole dancing might be?
Sure. Yeah. I do have a pair of
Yeah, they're
8-inch
mad.
heels.
Yeah.
For anybody who's
That's
like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, this symbol, it's an 8-inch perspex heel. It's the Pleaser brand. They're the most well-known brand for stripper shoes out there at the moment. And that's, I feel, a symbol that's synonymous with what we do. It's one of the tools of our craft.
Yeah.
So yeah, why wear them? It's a big question, and I often get that, like, you know, oh, like, do you have to wear the shoes? Like, no, you don't have to wear the shoes. It is a choice, and that's the great thing about pole dancing, especially nowadays, is that you can choose to make it as, you know, contemporary dancey as you want, or as sporty as you want. You can wear runners. We had to wear runners back in my day when we started in drama. Like, it was a rule. It's like, you have to wear runners,
because then it was pole fitness and not pole dancing. So.
Yeah, because it was stigmatized. Like, oh no, like we're not those kind of women. Like, we don't want to wear heels, and you know, we're pure. We're so elegant. Look at us. You know,
Church
we're not.
And if you arrived in with those shoes at that pole fitness, would you have been shamed? Like,
yeah, I definitely would have been shamed. I'm sorry to say, but yeah, I can say with pretty much conviction that it would have been very much frowned upon and disallowed. And yeah, there would have been probably.
And we ever tempted? Were you ever tempted to arrive in just to spice things up a bit?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I was only 19 years old when I got into the whole pole dancing for a hobby thing. So like, I was quite young and quite impressionable. So I thought, like, back then, like, okay, this is pole fitness. I have to wear runners. That's okay. Other women who maybe work in clubs and do this, oh, I'm not one of them. Like, I'm doing it for fitness. Like, oh, I'm on a lap dancing, or, oh, no, Jesus. Yeah, I suppose, like, I was quite young back then. So like, that was definitely a factor of my own, how would you say, insecurity about even being seen as remotely sexual was like, oh, Jesus, oh no. So yeah, that wasn't something I would have done, but I did eventually get to the stage of like, okay, why aren't we allowed to wear heels, and why are we shit talking people who do, and why are we being so close-minded as to, like, why do we have to have that separation of, oh, some people do it for stripping, but I don't do it, I don't have a problem with it, but oh, it's like, well, clearly you do have a problem with it if you're so keen to make that distinction of, oh no, it's only fitness. So yeah, that was when I started to question as I got more into it and got a bit older, and eventually looked out at what was going on in the world. Thankfully, YouTube had been invented by then as well, which was great. So we could look it up on the internet and see what people were doing in other countries and other cities, even closer to home. So yeah, I made it my business to then travel. So going to America and going to Italy and other places to meet great teachers and learn from them, and yeah, just get out into the world and see what people were doing. And that was another great tool to open my mind, just by talking and, more importantly, listening to other people and their stories.
Wow. Yeah, do you choreograph all your own stuff? Like, it's like telling a story, or what, you know?
Yeah, I do. I choreograph all of my own pieces. For me, that's my favorite part, and that would be my style. Like, I love trying to tell a story through my pieces. Whether it be like a more literal thing of, this is a piece about, you know, I have a piece where I'm a unicorn who's fed up of being an Irish trope, and I pull like an Irish flag out of my butt. And then other times it's a bit more like maybe.
I'm sure Michael Collins would be proud of that. I'm sure.
I think he would. I think he would have liked it.
That is a free Ireland. To me, that's a free Ireland, and you can pull flags out your butt. That's the free Ireland Michael Collins wanted.
That's what a republic represents.
Yeah, 100%.
It's true Irish.
Yeah. That's cool.
What country doesn't need more unicorns?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just watching your thing with Morrissey, Shoplifters of the World. That dance thing. What was that about? I loved it though.
Oh, thank you. So that was just another example of, that was just a song that I really liked, and I wanted to convey more like an emotion rather than tell a story of, this is just pure unapologetic sexy sadness. And kind of like that trope of like the girl who's like a bit sad but she's also really sexy and it makes her hot. It was kind of that like feeling of sexy and sad.
You pulled it off. It was very good.
Thank you.
And when like I have a few friends that do it themselves, like some getting into it and some have been doing it a bit. I know it's just like a lot of them, it's just stuff that they're into before they went into pole dancing, but for you, like there's a very like spiritual component to it when they're doing it, like a sort of like some of them talk about, like I don't know if you're like familiar with Kundalini practices and stuff like that, and a lot of them say like there's a similar sort of connection with that, like whatever. Is there like a sort of spiritual aspect in terms of flow or anything with it for you, or?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up actually. For me personally, I would say that there's I suppose spiritual is probably a good word to use for it. I'm quite interested in like shamanic practices. That would be more my, background, I suppose. Yeah, and I do feel like there is definitely a sense of flow, because you get, what's really fun about pole dancing to me is that you get that connection between the floor, so like more traditional grounded dance, as well as flying in the air. So it's just a really fun way to explore that connection between here and down there. And also, developing your own bodily awareness, which I think is quite powerful in just understanding how your own body works and how to engage your muscles and where your strength comes from. It's beautiful. It's fun. It's never ending.
That's really cool.
And the physical aspect of it as well, because that's amazing. Like how good it is for your muscles and your body and your physical fitness and toning and resistance and all of that. It just amazes me. Like how, in terms of kind of hours that you put in and sort of the different moves and stuff that you do, like it's a full-on training physical workout as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. Like I've been doing this for 15 years now, and I'm still learning new things. There's still moves and tricks I'm working on that like I still haven't mastered yet. So that's definitely one of the fun things about it, is that there's always something new to work on. It's still a relatively new art form, so people are inventing new things all the time. I guess like gymnastics, somebody is always raising the bar and you're like, ooh, okay, now there's a new challenge, or we didn't think that was possible and now it is. So that's really fun. And it works out everything. I would train, gosh, I'm not sure how many hours I train at the moment anyways, now that I'm not having access to my studio. I would do probably 3 flexibility sessions a week, 2 strength training sessions a week, and that's like away from the pole. And then I would aim to do at least a good hour session twice a week, like with the pole itself, ideally longer, because there's a temptation. I have done that in the past of like overtraining, so like just doing hours and hours of pole training, but it's all about quality over quantity, really.
And do you have a pole in your own house, or do you just only go to the studio? Or
I do have a pole at home, yes, in my living room. It's a short one. It's about probably, just look at it there, say it's probably just under 9 foot high, so it's grand. It does a job.
I've always wondered, how does it stay in like, is it bolted into the house, like into between the roof and the?
It's pressure mounted, so it kind of sticks to the floor and to the ceiling, so you screw it up telescopically and the pressure will kind of mount it
like
in.
A pull-up bar, is it, like the ones that go?
Similar to a pull-up bar, but more stable.
Hopefully.
How much are they when you have them in your house? How much do they cost?
Yeah, so good, like a proper, approved and industry standard pole for doing proper pole dancing on will set you back probably about, I'm going to say about maybe 270 euros, maybe to 300 euros. Yeah, you can get cheaper ones from
Wish. Can you get any in
how to
Wish?
say?
Can you say
Yeah, just be careful what you're buying.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
it looks too cheap, then it's probably not really designed for holding your body weight.
Yeah, so that's really good when you just said, like, approved, like it has to be kind of approved as part of it. That's brilliant. I'm glad that you've made us aware of that.
Yeah, because I was gonna buy one on Wish, but I don't know. I probably won't now. Yeah, because yeah. So you started you're the founder, the owner, like, and the starter of the Irish pole dancing academy. Is that right? Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't actually quite catch all of that question.
Are you the? Did you the Irish pole dancing academy? Did you you started that? Was it?
Yes. Yeah. Irish Pole Dance Academy is my studio, and it's my baby. It's turning 10 years old this March.
Really cool.
But
that's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to celebrate it though, which is a bit of a downer.
Yeah.
Have you many members now? Have you many people taking part?
We do online. Everything is now completely online because of our Rona.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say, yeah, all in all, we probably have about, let's see, I'm going to say, yeah, it's kind of hard to tell because people tend to come and go sometimes online. Like we have the option to make it a bit more flexible. I'm going to say we're probably about 80, full-time members at the moment. We're taking classes twice to three times a week with us.
Online, 80 members online. That's really impressive.
Yes.
Jesus.
How old do they get to? Like, can you do it in elderly people do it or what? No.
Yeah, there's no age limit to pole dancing. There's a lady in America. Oh gosh, I actually don't know her exact age right now. And I've forgotten her name. What is her name?
Well, random. I guess roughly her age, because I'm sure it's probably still mad. Like, even if you said, like, I don't know. Yeah, what?
Greta, that's her name. Okay, now you can answer.
Nice, fair play. I don't know.
Yeah, so there is no age limit to pole dancing. Obviously, you have to be over 18, but how many years can you do it? That's still up to debate because it's still we're learning as we're going and things are changing all the time. But there is a lady in the US of A. Her name is Greta Pontrelli. She is in her 70s, I believe. Yeah, she's in unreal shape. Yeah, she's just fantastic to watch and great attitude. So yeah, there is no limit as to when you can hang up your heels.
I'd say that's probably the best sport to keep your because at the end of the day, all sport is good, but the thing about stuff whether it's boxing or weightlifting and stuff like that is it catches up on you when you're older, but there's stuff like yoga and pole dancing and stuff where that'll keep you young forever. It never sort of, I don't know, it's I can imagine the more you do it, it's probably doing her good rather than bad at that age. When she stays consistent, that's really cool.
Do you ever do it in front of a big massive crowd or
Yeah, I have performed. I've had the privilege of performing for some pretty large audiences, and yeah, I love that. That's one of my favorite parts of the job, if you can say that, is getting to create a piece of art and then perform it in front of a large audience. Yeah, there's no better feeling.
Yeah, must be a bit of a rush with adrenaline, I'd say, when you go out and do something like that in a large audience. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and especially having the right kind of audience as well, in the right environment. We would do showcases in my studio. Well, back in the day when we were all allowed to meet in large groups of people, where our students will create a piece and they'll spend maybe up to 3 months crafting their own choreography with a song of their choice, and then performing it in front of their friends and family. So we'd have a small crowd there of probably about 60 to 70 people. And yeah, it's just lovely when everyone is there to see people dance, and they're there with no other agenda than to be entertained and to support other people as well. So they're only there to shower love on them. And it's lovely. They might just, do the simplest movement, a little hair flick, or just something really small, and people are like, yeah, like it's, as if they're the first person who has ever done that move. And it's just a really nice feeling when everyone's got each other's back and is, absolutely showering the love on them.
Have you ever, have you ever made a mistake while doing it in front of people, and like, were you able to come back from it, or did it dishearten you, or how, if it did, sorry?
Yeah, oh gosh, I don't think I've ever had a performance where everything has gone exactly right or exactly as planned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I don't think that has ever happened once in my career. You can always guarantee that like something is going to go awry, or you'll end up doing something slightly differently, or having to maybe improvise a bit. Yeah. That's part of the fun of it, I feel, is having to think on your feet, or if you would see that happen, some of your people might trip up in their heels on stage, or have a little slip or whatever, and sometimes the way they recover can be more fun than whatever amazing piece they had planned.
Yeah, that's funny.
It must be pretty creative though, to be thinking new moves all the time and trying to keep the thing fresh. Yeah
Definitely. It's always fun learning new things, although I have a lot of love for like some of the tricks that I'm still practicing every day are the ones that I learned on like my first day of pole dancing. But it can be fun to challenge yourself to like not forget the basics. I guess like learning any language, you want to make sure your foundation is solid, right? And to make sure you're not doing bad habits.
What are the tricks? Like, what are the tricks you kind of try to think of?
Yeah, so there's one that's called the body wave, where you're just standing with the pole and rolling your body with it, and some of the basic spins like dip turns and pirouettes. It might be, I think sometimes we think of it like, oh, I've learned that, now I can move on. But for me, especially if you're doing this for 15 years, I'm always looking for new ways to develop maybe something that I've been doing for years and years and years, and to make it fresh and different, and to keep on exploring that, and to stay curious, I suppose, even with the things that you already know.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying, do you ever see somebody else that blows your mind, like when you see their creativity or what they've come up with,
Yeah, it happens, gosh, almost every day, whether it's one of my own students, even a first-time beginner might ask a question or do something or do what I'm showing them in a different way. I'm like, I never thought of doing it like that.
Yeah.
Or if you're looking on the internet, you'll see someone putting a new spin on something, like, wow, never thought of that either. That's amazing.
That's really cool. Because we were doing that wave motion there, and it reminded me like the last post you put up on Instagram, where you would call in the caption, you were doing that wave sort of motion, but you called it seaweed. Is that a name of a move, or did you call it that because it looks like seaweed? Because it really looked like you were a seaweed, moving like seaweed.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of which post was that now.
It's the most recent one you put up. But even like that as an example, like I just thought that was funny because it literally, you just looked like it was moving like seaweed, and it was like so literal, like to have that eye, whoever, like whether it was yourself or someone else who done pole dancing before, who called it seaweed move or whatever. But when I was watching it, I was like, it literally looks like a human acting like seaweed. So I was just like, I don't know, I thought it was really interesting and creative for someone to have been able to see that and be like, that looks, and call it that move or something. I thought that was really cool. It's definitely, I don't know, it's not like naming like skateboard tricks or something where it's like all technical or whatever. It's like, I don't know, I just thought that was really impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, some of the moves would be named after the people who invented them. Some of them would have more visual names like that. We actually don't have a move called seaweed, but they might have like a onomatopoeic name or something similar. Then others might have more technical names, like it's a front lever, side balance, blah blah. Something more like gymnastic-y based or technical.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the fun thing, is the different names for all the moves that we have.
Oh, that's cool. Is George, you know that guy George Foreman? He seems to name himself after everything. Did he ever name a pole dancing move?
The George Foreman.
Should make one. Yeah, you should. That would do really well. Did you know he has 4 children and they're all called George Foreman? That's how. And he also named a grill after himself. It's mad.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah.
That must be confusing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I know, like. I mean, kind of, because I've looked at your Instagram and things like that, and some of the history and stuff and places you performed and all of that. But like, I wondered, is there anyone that you would like to see on a pole? because you've got your students and you've performed in places, different people and stuff. Who would you, Arlene, like to see on a pole?
Yeah, that's a fun question. I would love to see, or personally love to teach. I'm going to put that invitation out there to
Nice.
Mr. Chrome from the Rubber Bandits.
Oh, no
because
way.
I'm a massive fan. He's just a great mover. I'm like, I could get you on a pole and like, yeah, so I reckon I could get him to do some really cool shit.
That's a really good answer. Because like I've seen him, like the way he dances and stuff, like 100% could see that. Like,
do you get many men doing the pole dancing?
Yeah, in my studio, like most of my clients will be people who identify as women or non-binary. We have a handful of men, but yeah, there are a lot of male people who are doing pole dancing, which is cool to see. It's nice that
in Ireland is there a good few in Ireland, like?
Yeah, there is actually. There's a good scene of male pole dancers in Ireland. Yeah, Michael Donoghue, he's probably like, he's the first person when you say like male pole dancers in Ireland, he will be the one that springs to mind. So yeah, folks who are Googling or doing more research can look him up for an example of an Irish male pole dancer.
So that's who Chrome should look for when he's Googling before he comes to learn his pole dancing at your studio.
Yeah, look up Michael.
Yeah. But yeah, I have a vision for him. Yeah, he's going to make his own specific style of pole dancing.
That's really
I can
cool.
see it now.
That's a really good answer. Selecting someone, I don't know. Hugh, who would you, if you could see anyone on the pole, who would you want to see?
Mary Robinson.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That would be interesting.
I have a feeling she'd be good at it, you know?
I think she'd be great at it. Definitely. Yeah, I'd love to be in a room with her, even just to have chats with her. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That's funny.
What about you, Karen?
Jesus, David Attenborough. David Attenborough.
He'd be good.
Yeah, he would be. I'd like to see David.
He'd do it as well.
He probably would. He'd be good at it too. He's seen everything move in all sorts of ways. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he could do that. Like,
what about you, Hayley?
I can't. I'd probably like to see me on a pole, because I'm not sure that would ever happen. And probably if that would never happen, my mum. I'd quite like to see my mum on a pole, to be honest.
That's funny.
I actually started with my mum. Yeah, she came with me to. Yeah, we started together at the same time. It's like let's try that pole dancing thing.
That's really
cool. So she was doing it for a number of years too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you like what your family thought, about the academy and kind of how you're progressing and stuff with it. But obviously, mum's on board and was supportive from the beginning.
Yeah, I'm quite lucky that all my family are very supportive of it, and obviously my mum, having done it, has a particular appreciation for it. It is something that we see at the academy. Like, it's it happens every once in a while that mums and daughters will come together, or like sisters, and also people who are friends, obviously.
That's cool.
I would say to anyone who's thinking about doing it with their mum, like, don't write it off. It happens more often than you think, and it's it's really cute to see. It's lovely.
Yeah, because if like that's a really like healthy like sort of parent son or daughter relationship, like to be able to do something like that, but like even like taking up any sport or joining anything with your parent is like a whole other level of a healthy relationship, like especially if it's doing something like that might be a bit more slightly uncomfortable for people at first if they're not sure how it goes, but you'd break all like barriers anyway with your parent, and like that's really random but good advice. Like, that's cool. What was it? There was is when you're like, I know it like kind of touched on the spiritual thing, but like is it like sort of do you feel like you're in a meditative state like when you're doing it, like, or are you constantly thinking about the next move you're doing, or are you just doing it like?
Yeah, great question. It is possible to reach that state of flow with pole dancing, definitely, and to really get lost in the movement.
Have you ever done it like alone or in front of people, or either way, like, but have you ever just sort of let go like and got lost in the movement itself rather than a sort of choreographed piece?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it has happened a number of times. think the interesting thing about pole dancing is that sometimes you can't completely just, well, at least for me anyway, I speak from personal experience, like because often there's like the technical and safety element involved. You're like, yeah, I need to make sure that my hands and my legs are in the right place, or you can't like completely just like let everything go complete. Like you have to know that you're safe. But yeah, it is possible to kind of just get lost in the movement when you are dancing and to let things flow and you're not focusing on the, oh, what comes next thing, and to have that sort of, how do you say, still be grounded in your safety, but also to have the fun and that sense of that state. It's a flow state, I guess, is what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really cool.
When you went, and you said that you went to the US and to Italy and stuff to kind of look a little bit more at pole dancing and get a broader view of it, where did you go and what did you see?
Yeah, wow. Where will I start with that one? Yeah, I guess probably one of the most significant ones that for me happened was I went to Nashville that was in 2013. There's a dancer called Lethia Austin, and yeah, she came to prominence. I'm going to say it was around 2008, 2009, when she won, I think it was Miss Texas Pole Star competition. Anyway, so yeah, pole dancing is a thing by that stage. It's quite trendy and it's all over YouTube, and there is kind of cult communities building on Facebook and social media. So there's videos of her being shared everywhere, this Alethea Austin person. And I remember being like so offended when I saw her at first. I was like, oh, like she's really like full on sensual, and I remember being very offended, like, oh, who does she think she is moving like that? And oh God, oh, I don't like it at all.
Was that like so, when it was more like pole fitness for you before you changed, like early on stages?
Exactly.
Like, okay, yeah.
I was still evolving and getting, how do you say, used to my insecurities and dealing with that. So I was just so mind blown when I first saw her. And I guess, yeah, thankfully through my own self-awareness, I realized, okay, like I'm really offended because I really want what she has. Like I'm actually quite envious of how at home in her skin she is, and the way she dresses, and just how unique she looks. Like when you look at her move, there's only one of her. And I think that's something that we all want, isn't it? We all want to have our own unique style and to be recognized for who we are rather than being like somebody else. So I got to know her anyway through the internet and through meeting her at various competitions. And then I kind of decided, like, yeah, okay, I want to know everything that she knows. I want her to teach me. So I went to her studio and spent some time training with her. Wow. And got to perform in one of her own productions that she had on. She was very kind to let me dance on stage with her and her troupe. So yeah, that was probably one of the most life-changing ones for me, was to meet someone that I admired and realize how cool and humble they were, and for them to teach me like their skills so that I could then develop my own style and not be like a poor imitation, I guess, of
and that's really good. Like that must have made you feel a lot more kind of connected to what you do and connected to the community around it, because it is still a bit thin on the ground in Ireland compared to other places, I guess, just in terms of numbers and that. So yeah, that must have been a really cool experience, and sort of continue to kind of play out and feed into what you do now.
Definitely. I still kind of look back on those days and those experiences and be like, wow, I can't believe I actually got to do that. Like that's pretty amazing. And that's one of the great things for people doing pole dancing here in Ireland or wherever they're doing it, is that like you will meet lots of new people and make lots of new friends while you're doing it, and that will push your boundaries in a way, is meeting more diverse people. And yeah, it's just nice to feel a part of something, isn't it? I think that's what we all want when we start a new hobby.
Is she gonna come over here and perform at your academy, do you think?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, she will. She's been to visit my studio a number of times. Oh no, that was only once. How many times has Alethea been here? Yeah, she's been to Ireland anyway, and I've had her in my studio, and yeah, but hopefully it will line up one day where dates and whatever she'll get to perform at one of mine. That'd be really sweet.
So you've danced all over the world then, yeah?
Yeah, I've danced in a lot of places. Yeah, I've been to Russia, I've been to New Zealand, been to the USA, Argentina, all over Europe and the UK. Yeah, I've been around the block.
Did you ever have any negative experiences?
Yeah, I'm sure I must have. Yeah, I guess trying to think of anything that would stand out really in particular. Um, and also what I can say that's not like, how do you say?
I know. Libelous or
yeah. um,
but
yeah, I guess probably the only bad experience I've had have been like here at home and even from
it makes sense.
friends, like even in my early days of pole dancing, like I have this memory of I've written about it on Instagram, so I guess I can talk about it publicly, and no disrespect to the people involved if they do end up watching this.
It's all right. No one watches us anyway, so don't worry.
Nobody watches.
This is the biggest podcast in the world.
Until now, Arlene, of course.
Yeah,
biggest podcast in the world. Get ready.
But yeah, like I remember when I first took up pole dancing, or I'd been doing it a while anyway, and being in the beer garden with my then like new boyfriend and meeting like his friends, and then be like, oh, like you do that pole dancing thing, like that's really weird. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's pole fitness, and I'm not doing it. I'm not lap dancing. But they're like, oh, but it's weird though. And they had this kind of idea of like someone that they knew doing pole dancing to them was weird, because to them pole dancing and stripping was like, they're fantasy women. They're not real women. They're like these gorgeous goddesses that I look at and drool over, but they're not real humans.
Yeah, they don't go home to bed and eat food. It's funny. That's
weird. Like it was just that disconnect of, oh, someone I know is doing this.
That's mad.
You should have turned it back around on them, and when you left the bar, you should have got them to stick a few euros in your knickers or something like that. that would have served them right.
Yeah.
I really wish I had thought of that back then, or had the confidence to have done that. That would have been hilarious.
But if that's as negative as it gets, that's not pretty bad. That's not too bad, like, is it really? I know it's bad, but
maybe just
it means it's safe enough, like, is basically what I mean, isn't it?
Definitely. I think that's probably the worst thing that can happen to you, is that somebody's going to try to maybe label you or paint you as a certain type of person. But you're right, like it's really not that bad at the end of the day, and if that's the worst they can do to you, then it's an opportunity to maybe learn about our own limitations. And I don't think you can necessarily always strive to change people, and I've learned that over the years. You can't always be like, I'm going to change people's perceptions, but they have to do that work. But maybe you can perhaps offer them an alternative view that maybe they haven't considered yet.
Yeah.
How was Russia like when you were there? Because I can't imagine that they're that open in a lot of circles to pole dancing.
Yeah, Russia is really, it's like even just going to Moscow is an experience in itself. It's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have a really strong scene of pole dancing there in like all of its regards, be it like the sexy we call it like the OG style. So the one that like honors the roots of pole dancing, as well as the whole like acrobatic pole sport. Like they're doing crazy shit over there. Like usually like we kind of have a joke of like, if we're thinking about a new move or a new combination of moves, right? There's probably somebody in Russia right now who's doing it.
Actually, I suppose because
I can imagine
they've got a really strong history in gymnastics, and they're quite a patriarchal society. So you can imagine that performances like that would be right up there. So I'd imagine
Russia is like full of strip clubs and like pole dancing and stuff like that. But that's weird. Like, I know what you mean, though. I know what you would have thought, though. Like, I see both sides. Yeah, that's interesting.
They probably wouldn't like the guys pole dancing in Russia, though.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Oh, I'd like to see Putin on a pole.
That's a good one. I'd love to see him on a pole.
On a pole. He'd make it happen. It's got a ring to it.
Yeah. That sounds like the name of a good song or something. Putin, a good movie. I would say as well.
There's a lot of men in pole. There's a lot of Russian men. Pole dancing as well.
Is there? In Russia?
Yeah, so many of them.
Is it accepted over there, like, for them to do it? Like, I thought,
Yeah, sorry, I didn't quite catch that. My neighbour's dogs are barking.
It's okay. I kind of hear them. Is it? I'm surprised that there's loads of men in Russia doing it. Like, is it accepted for them as easily as women over there, do you think?
It's very accepted for men in Russia to be doing it, because I guess like ballet, like Russian men do ballet, and they don't have, for some reason, they don't have that, maybe the idea that we have of like men who dance are like less manly. Over there it's like, men can dance.
I think Ireland probably has it the worst in the world, and even though you have like some repressive states like North Korea and stuff, just there's something about like the Irish like men that just don't move. I haven't moved in years. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, in Russia, like they're very like hard and they drink vodka and they're very, they're Russian, but like they still kind of move like. But like there's something about like when I think of like the old Irish men, I just think of like, lads whose veins are full of cement and they just can't move like. And I don't know, there's something weird about it. I'd also say as well, like for people watching, because there will be thousands of people watching this, I will persist. When like anyone that is watching it, pole dancing is actually, I think it's big. Am I right in saying it's bigger than people think? Because like from my experience, I've loads of friends that do it, but they don't actually share all the stuff that they're doing and stuff. Like, would you think the scene is bigger than it might be portrayed online, like that people think in Ireland?
That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, I would say you're right in that. I guess even speaking from experience, I know a lot of my students are quite active. Like they have their separate like accounts on Instagram where they'll post all their pole dancing stuff. But there are a lot of people, you're right, who like they're just doing it for themselves and they're not posting about it on social media. Like it's their little thing. So I reckon it's probably. I wonder, is this a really bold claim to make that? Somebody in your life that is a pole dancer.
I think so as well.
I'd love to think that. I'd really love to think that it's my mum for me.
She's watching this. That's funny. That's really interesting.
Do you think, like, in terms of just kind of getting the word out and stuff for your academy, like how quickly did that happen? Like, were people on board? Because you said it's been 10 years now. Was it slow to get going, or did people jump at it?
It was quite slow initially to get going, I guess, because funnily enough, my first classes were in Galway, mostly because I just couldn't afford to rent anywhere in Dublin. Like that was the reason why. And I had a cousin in Galway who was like, I reckon lots of people here would do it. But the rent in Galway is pretty cheap, so I'll try it there and see how things go. And plus nobody was doing it in Galway at that time. It did take a while to get going, I guess, because when you don't have a marketing budget and you're one person who's like marketing the class, developing the class, teaching the class, putting up polls, taking them down at the end of class. But it did take a long time to get from that stage of like doing everything, word out, especially when you don't know anyone. You're not from that city. It did take a while to build up, but now thankfully, and people have more awareness now of pole dancing. People are looking for it, which is something I've noticed from my website, that like you can see like who is Googling or how many people are Googling pole dancing classes Dublin. You can see all that information now, and it is really rising, cool. Which is great.
What made you sorry.
When Stringfellows. Oh, sorry. No, I was. You go on. Go on.
It's lagging. Go on.
What made you take what? Go on.
You go.
Oh yeah, but anyway, no, I remember when when Stringfellows opened in Dublin. What you call it? The local Legion of Mary were saying the Rosary outside it. Did anyone say the Rosary outside your place when you opened?
No, but I think that would be great publicity.
It would.
Do you want?
Pops a tea and be like, there you go, have some tea while you're at it.
We could say the Rosary outside it if you want.
Yeah, we could.
That wouldn't be the same though. You need the moral outrage.
We could do that.
We could get going. A few things at people.
We'll have people. We'll hand out people with pitchforks and flames for people.
What made you take the leap to actually run your own classes and to start setting it up?
So as I mentioned, I was in art college. I have a degree in graphic design. So it was basically necessity. Like when I graduated, even before I graduated in 2008, like our tutors were telling us, like, start applying for your visas now, because go to Canada, Australia, there won't be any jobs left by the time you're finished your degree. Which is pretty grim, and they were right. Like anyone who's old enough to remember 2009 and how grim those few years were, with like just nothing happening and mass unemployment and emigration. So I kind of had no other, not that I had no other choice, but I didn't have the money to emigrate. Like that just wasn't an option for me. I couldn't get a job at my degree, and like there just weren't really any jobs of any kind going. So I've been doing pole dancing for a number of years, and I'd won some competition titles by then, and people were asking me and interested, like, oh, so you're the Irish champion, like when are you teaching classes, or like can you teach me? So I thought, like, okay, this is something that I'm good at, it's my hobby, I'm I've won titles, so I'm obviously good at this. And I'll learn how to become a teacher and teach these people who are asking me, just to keep me going until things improve. And that's how, the rest is history, I suppose. I used that social enterprise scheme, or social welfare, I think it's called the Back to Enterprise Allowance. I'm sure somebody in the YouTube comments will be like, this is what it was called. But where you like use your social welfare money to set up a business, and they like give you help and support and all of that. But that's how my company was born. It was out of that scheme. So yay, thanks social welfare department.
It's mad though, like there's just like I'm doing something similar to that with like project that we're setting up, like me, the three of us here, and similar scheme, and it's like, but I just, it's mad that people, like when you go looking for those schemes, like there's actually stuff out there when you go looking that like is so hidden and stuff like that can be the making of everything, like everything you've built your whole life, like now, like is from that, which is mad. Like obviously it's from you putting in the work as well, and that's important, but there's things that can help you going that people might know about. It's really interesting. We're going to finish up now anyway. Thanks for coming on, and I'm really glad that like you've managed to you've built a life like out of it, and you've your own studio, and the studio looks really cool as well. For anyone, if anyone wants to check out your stuff, where would they go?
So if anyone is wanting to learn more, and if you're like Haley, you're like, oh, I really want to try it, but I couldn't see myself do it, I would challenge you and say, like, look, just try it, give it even a month, see how you get on. You'll be pleasantly surprised. And I think most of us think that, like, oh, I'd break the pole, or oh, I'd be no good, or we have all these excuses anyway, and things that we tell ourselves as to like, oh, I've got a list as to why I can't do this. So maybe just challenge that and sit with yourself and give it a try, even just for a month, see how you get on.
And and to all the old Irish men out there still giving out about it, stop giving out about it, and if it's upsetting you, that's okay. Maybe you should try a pair of stockings, might make you feel better about yourself, and give it a go, get up on the pole, and
definitely get a pair of those shoes on.
Those shoes would suit some of those.
If anything's going to do wonders for your self-esteem, that's those shoes, I'd 100%.
say. 100%. Stop walking around.
They're just fun as well. I love them.
That's really cool. Thanks for coming on, Arlene. Thanks to everyone for watching and listening, if you're doing so on Spotify. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. It really helps, and we'll see you next week. Thanks a million. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks. Bye.